Nostalgia Street invites you on a retro ride that's more than just a trip down memory lane,
Uncover life lessons and personal growth stories that stem from our collective past.
so you can live a richer, more connected life today.
Whether you're a 90s kid, an 80s teen, or simply young at heart, you'll find something to relate to in each episode.
Now, here are your hosts, Vince and Jeff. All right, welcome back to another episode of Nostalgia Street, where we share the stories that shape us. And today our guest is Andrew. More to come on that. So, Vince, you always have the fun question to kick us off. So, what do you got for Andrew?
So, Andrew, we know you're a big soccer fan, done it a lot of your life. So my question to you is, if you could draft a soccer team, but you could only pull from a team from like not a soccer sport, so if you wanted to pull like the 96 Bulls, or you wanted to pull like the Patriots, you want to pull whoever, what is your soccer team that is made of non-soccer players?
Ooh.
Give us like 5 players.
Yeah,
so
that's a
good
tough
at this.
question. I mean, I'd probably want like Steph Curry. He's kind of got that like point guard, and you kind of need like a point guard on the soccer field. So he'd be for sure one. We gotta have the cheetah, Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, there we go.
You gotta have that forward up there where you can kick the ball along to. I mean, I'd want someone big. Maybe Travis Kelce. He'd be a good goalkeeper. Obviously, I guess, okay, not so many Chiefs.
That's okay. Bring him.
I don't know. Who else? You want a lot of fast players, so probably like
Travis.
Travis. Travis would probably be a good like sweeper stopper. Like, we put him on defense because he's quick. A goalie, God, probably want like a Tim Duncan or Dwight Howard, like someone long and lanky that could still move side to side, would be a good goalkeeper. Then you need someone in the midfield. I don't know, like a Devontae Adams or someone who's fast, who's got some size to him.
I think it'd be fun just to watch if any of these guys could even manipulate a soccer ball.
That would be fun. The Kelsey brothers talk all the time whether football players can become basketball players, but yeah, soccer. Interesting question. Good job, Vince.
Yeah.
All right. Well, before we get much further into this, we want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Forefront Studios. That's us. We're here at our new space in the downtown area at 114 South Main Avenue, also known as what we call the McGow Construction Building until we get our signage out there. And at Forefront Studios, we create videos to help our clients sell more of whatever they have, products or services. And we have a fun time doing it. And Mr. Miller here today. Oops, I gave away his name. He and his wife are actually part of that process as clients last year. So with no further ado, we have Realtor Extraordinaire on the male side, Andrew Miller. His wife Maggie was with us a few weeks ago, and we thought it'd be more fun we should probably have you back on side by side so we can play newlywed game and embarrass everybody to death.
We figured we'd split you guys up so it'd be more juicy.
Yeah.
More juicy. Yeah, we want to get
Especially
the juice on
'cause
each other.
You haven't seen her episode yet, so
That's true. He doesn't know what she said about him.
Yeah. Well, geez, maybe I should have watched it before I came in here.
So we always like to start kind of almost like a chronological order. So what is a toy that you just could not let go, or that your parents knew that you had to have, or else you'd scream your head off if you didn't have it with you when you were younger?
I don't know. I think I love to be outside, so it had to been some trucks, toys. I know I had a lot of those little Tonka trucks that we'd play in, and I'd have them for a couple days, maybe a couple weeks, and then they would be destroyed, and the wheels wouldn't turn, or the wheels would be broken off. But we made do with them back then.
Yeah.
so it's a little bit of a troublemaker. Eh?
Maybe.
So what was kind of like that early childhood like? Were you getting in trouble a lot with siblings or family friends or neighborhood kids?
I would say, so I grew up on Point Drive, Penguin Point, which was a kind of a cool area, a nice hill. And so like we'd always go down. I think it's like one of those things that's like ingrained in my mind. And I thought it was like my life was over. We were down at the bottom of the hill, and I was the youngest of the kids. I'm the oldest of my four siblings, but I was the youngest of kind of the kids in the neighborhood. So I always tried to like hang out with the big kids, and they thought, oh yeah, Andrew, you think you're real cool. So we were down there, and it was snowing, and there's a little creek. We'd catch crawdads in there, and it was snowing, and they are like, hey, let's go down there. So we went down there, and they left me down there, and I couldn't get out, and I was crying, and so I think they traumatized me at a young age, and I always was getting beat up on our so-called football field of the front yard of the neighbors.
You were getting beat up.
Yeah. Well, not really beat up. We wouldn't get beat up, but I was the little kid, so they would
Traumatized.
They would toss me around.
Yeah, those memories we all have, getting punched or hit or whatever, and seems pretty traumatic
I
at the
did the
time.
punching, but
You what?
I did the punching.
Yeah. And the shooting of arrows.
Stop.
You have to look at that other episode there. In case you don't know, Vince once tried to shoot his mom with an arrow.
It was an accident.
So you have to go back. What episode was that?
The one with Jeff Hayward.
Yeah. So check out our episode there. I forget which one that was. That was pretty good. So what did you do when you weren't getting beat up by the neighborhood kids? What were some other activities that you enjoyed?
We played. We had a lot of football, basketball. We was trying to have these little like round the neighborhood like basketball tournaments, little 2-on-2 tournaments, and so. But I mean, I was pretty good back then. So like, I would beat some of the older kids, and then they would get mad, if I made a shot.
But that's why they were bullying you.
Yeah.
Because you were
You
beating
know,
them on the
yeah.
on the courts where it
They
mattered.
hopefully wouldn't show up.
Yeah.
Go watch cartoons, kid.
No,
Yeah.
you put him in the bottom of the hill. Then he can't make it to the tournament.
So how long did this prowess keep you afloat and keep their egos in check?
I don't know. We lived down there for a while, and then I think it was closer to like middle school is when we moved, and so we were there for a while. And I felt like a lot of the kids came and went in that neighborhood. But yeah, it was always fun. We'd do a lot of sledding, and I have some fond memories of riding my bicycle, and that's a whole other story of me falling asleep on my bike. That's forever ruined me as well, but I'm still here.
Well, you fell asleep on it.
Well, now we gotta hear
riding
this
a bike.
one.
That's the story, and I'm gonna stick to it. So I was one of those kids that would go 100 miles an hour till like my mom yelled at me, and it was dark, and I had to come in because I just always wanted to be outside.
Yeah.
And I guess I was tired and fell asleep on my bike and had road rash all over my face and hands. And I think my mom still has the photos. And they're like, "Well, what happened?" I was like, "I think I fell asleep. I don't really remember." But
Were you drinking?
I don't. I might have wished I was. No, I think I was like 8, 10, something like that. So
Wow.
I was fairly young. But that and the big wheel. So, the big wheels.
Bike and then
Did you ever hit anything on your bike that caused collateral damage?
I mean, I think where I fell, there was a fence, that one of those interesting houses with the front yard that's fenced in with the chain link fence.
Yeah.
And it was right there, and actually, one of my mom's good friends found me. She brought me back to the house and was like, "Hey, here, Andrew's laying in the sidewalk."
laying on the sidewalk.
Sleeping.
Yeah,
Bleeding.
sleeping with my road rash.
I remember coming home from just tooling around the neighborhood, and we had this little ravine next to us, and I went down at breakneck, and I didn't judge it just right, and I hit this little rock or jut out, and I remember sliding forward off of my seat, and of course, you know what happens next. The crotch hits the post, and I was like, Dad! I couldn't talk. Oh, that hurt.
I tried to ride an adult's bike once when I was a kid, and I don't know how I fell, but my leg ended up through a wheel. Like, it was nothing got punctured, but it was just like the spokes are around my leg, and it's like, how'd that happen?
Wow, that's traumatic.
Yikes.
So here on the show, obviously, bicycle accidents are a trauma for everybody.
Yeah, bike safely, folks.
Yeah.
Wear
Don't let your
helmet.
kids ride a bicycle. Yeah.
So, what were some other objects, something that you either rode or played with that they don't have anymore?
I wouldn't say they don't have it. It's not as prevalent as I think. I went through 3 tires on the big wheel back then.
Wow.
I mean, I would go. We had kind of lived on a hill, and so I'd go up there and go screaming down, and then,
Wait, what's a
Hit the
big
brake.
wheel?
Oh boy,
exactly.
we got to explain this to you.
Yeah, what's a big wheel?
It's a tricycle with really big plastic tires
All 3 of them
and
are
a
wheel
small.
big?
No, the 2 back ones are really big. The front one's kind of small, right, Andrew?
Yep. Yeah, it was more narrow, but it was
Okay, so it's like a trike. Got it.
like a trike.
And
There's a handbrake?
you had a handbrake.
Wow.
That was the best part.
Okay.
But I didn't know that you could change the wheels on those. You saw so many kids that had big wheels, but the tires were all chewed up.
Yeah, worn. They were like lopsided, or I mean,
So you had a parent that loved you, apparently.
they just, or I threw a fit and said I wanted a new big wheel, and a new big wheel is kind of expensive, so they just changed the front tire on it. So
Wow.
So Andrew, what was the trend for you in school? Like, was there something that was like that all the cool kids did that you either had to have or had to do?
Had
like,
to wear.
Like Jeff threw his leg up on here and cuffed his pant leg the other day to show us how you used to cuff the jeans.
Yeah, wasn't that with Maggie?
I forget who that was.
I think it was.
ooh,
Or Pete.
I remember rolling the jeans. I think that was a little out of my era. I don't know. School was kind of, I was there. I was present. Does that count? Like, I just wanted to
He
be
was
outside.
sleeping.
And, yeah, I was sleeping.
You made it through.
Yeah, I just wanted to be outside, and I've ever since I was younger, I always played soccer. Like you said, I'm a big soccer guy, so like I just wanted to go and play soccer or basketball or sports or be outside. I wouldn't say I had ADD, ADHD, whatever they call it nowadays.
Yep.
Maybe I did. They just didn't diagnose me with it, but I was just one of those kids that just went through the day, made it through the day maybe, and then I was home and I just wanted to play. That might have gone through a lot of my schooling. So here I am.
So was soccer a big thing throughout your childhood, or was there a time? Because I don't know that soccer was super big when I grew up, but I know it became more and more popular, probably as a way to get your kids to get out of the house so you can do whatever you want as a parent.
Yeah, I think I started when I was 5 and played until I was out of high school, and then I've tried a couple more times since. They're not in the last recent years because I realize I'm not that young anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, my mind still says I can play, but my body, as we know,
You just got to stretch.
yeah, just got to stretch. Yeah.
No pulled ACLs.
Yeah. No, so I started when I was 5 playing rec, and I loved it and continued playing, and I think I was sort of good, so I enjoyed it. I was my mom was like, "Oh, you're one of the fast kids out there," and so I don't know, I just wanted to run and play and be a wild child. So,
Yeah.
but
So are you a forward or?
I was more of a defender.
Okay.
I played like sweeper stopper. I also had some little bits at goalkeeper, which was fun. I liked that. I was trained by some very high level people, and I thought it was fun. But then when you go play people from other parts of the country that are really good at soccer, and you lose 12-13 nothing, you're the goalkeeper. It kind of
Oh,
puts you in check.
Why do you think that is, that there are people in other countries that are that much better?
I don't know. I mean, it's. I wouldn't say it's not only in other countries. It's like in other parts of our country. Like like I remember playing ODP, Olympic Development, soccer, and that was one of those big things you tried out for. And they took the best kids in the state. So I was like, ooh, I'm sort of good. I played club soccer, but then we'd play like Ohio South, Ohio North, Indiana, Illinois, even some kids down in Nebraska. And it's like they were bigger, faster, stronger. I don't know if they were. I mean, feel like you were playing kids that were 2-3 years older than you, and you're like, I mean, we're good around here. We beat everyone around here handily, and then we go there and
So it wasn't the weather. It wasn't like they were able to,
yeah,
like you'd think kids in Florida, they're probably outside year round, but it wasn't that. So there's a book by Malcolm Gladwell called Outliers. I don't think I've mentioned this on the show. I hope not. But he talks about, have I?
no, you haven't.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
will.
you. I hate to repeat
No,
stories.
you haven't.
But he was talking about hockey, why so many Canadians are better hockey players. And it's something about, and don't quote me on this, but it's something about like you can't really start hockey until you hit a certain age in the U.S., but in Canada, they allow them to start playing hockey a year earlier. And because it's during those formative years, it's kind of like if I wanted to try to learn Spanish as a 55-year-old versus a 5-year-old, the 5-year-old brain's probably still developing. Same thing with hockey. And so they say that that's why hockey players in Canada are so good. It's just that one extra year just propels them exponentially.
yeah, or like kids in Europe, like they are born with a soccer ball, and that's what they do. Or like Vince's question, like, hey, I feel like in other countries or in other parts, probably in other countries, but soccer is more prevalent. They take their best athletes. They're not playing football, basketball, the other sports.
Yeah.
They turn them into soccer players. So,
Jeez. So what were some of those songs that you still rage to in
That
your
was your
car?
soundtrack.
Soundtrack.
I'm like a classic country guy, like old school, like Waylon Willie and the Boys.
Okay.
Okay.
But Maggie doesn't like when I listen to that. So
She's not
Maggie
here
the
right
wife.
now.
yeah. So normally that's only like when I'm by myself. So
Give us a couple of bars.
am I gonna sing it? Oh,
You can.
jeez.
Good. Comment.
Or like Tennessee Ernie Ford. People have never heard. 16 tons. What do you get? Another day. Older and deeper in debt. People are gonna wonder.
Like
Vince,
what
no.
era is that?
I can tell from Vince's profile, he's looking at you like, what is he talking about? Obviously, country music is really popular in your upbringing, Vince.
Yes. Country roads. Take me home.
Yeah.
Country Fried Chicken. That's as close as I got. Yeah, I wasn't. My parents love country music, but yeah, my mom probably wasn't a big fan of that. So we just listen to rock and roll.
I like country now, but it's not
Country's
really country.
changed a lot, right?
Yeah.
It used to be like really country, really country, and then like was it Shania Twain or who like ushered in the new style of country?
I would say it had been like mid to late 90s. It turned into, then you have, I don't know, it's more of like a pop country now, which
Yeah,
there's some good
yeah.
stuff, and I still listen to some of that, but I don't know. I just like, hello, I'm Johnny Cash.
There you go. That's a great impression right there.
Good stuff. We'll be right back. So what movies captured your attention when you were a kid?
I keep going back to the soccer theme, and I said this the other day, and people laugh at me. I say, "Hey, remember the Big Green?" And
Okay. Yep.
They're like, "Well, you're an idiot." I'm like, I don't know. I thought that was cool as a soccer movie. Kind of love soccer, and that was a good one. And I'm not really a big movie guy, but I like the military stuff.
Yeah.
Like Saving Private Ryan and Men of Honor. I've always thought that was a super cool. The military goes and saves you and or your country and whatnot, or just some of the stuff that happens in some of those movies. Obviously Top Gun and the new Maverick, which is super cool and everyone loves it. But I think, I don't know, those are probably some of my favorite movies. I'm not much of a movie guy.
All right.
I mean, I think one of my best friends would still like kill me to this day. I went to hopefully no Star Wars people are listening, but I went to one of the new Star Wars. I couldn't even tell you what it was.
Yeah.
But I fell asleep in the movie.
How dare he?
I'm sensing a trend here of you and just sleeping wherever,
I know.
whenever.
I just go hard all the time. I need to rest.
I picture Andrew in the afternoon on a Saturday afternoon. He's working on his truck. He's listening to country music. Is that close or not?
Yeah, maybe a beer in my hand. Some college football in the background.
There we go. There we go. So Nebraska, I see that. That's probably one of my least favorite teams. I got to be honest. But where did your appreciation for Nebraska come from?
I was actually born in Nebraska, and so they say it's in your blood.
Yeah.
And my dad, my grandpa, all my relatives, lived in Nebraska, and so it's kind of always been. I've always been a big Husker fan, and then when you're younger and your dad watches it, and you want to sit and watch a game with the dad. Early '90s of the Miami games and the Florida State and the Orange Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl, those games, and I remember like, oh, Dad's gonna let me stay up a little later, and I would watch the Husker games of Tommy Frazier, and back when the Huskers were
A team.
really like
That's cruel.
I mean, we're trying to make a comeback. Thank you,
Yeah.
Coach Rule. But no, and so like ever since then, like it's just been, I don't know, it's always been I've always been a huge Husker fan, and my family was there in Nebraska, so like it's kind of
Home territory.
So
yeah.
that was when did Coach Osborne step down?
I think it was 98.
And that's when everything fell apart, right?
What was it? 98, 99. 98 is when they split the national championship with Michigan, and I think it was like that year or after. Yeah, and then it's
Wait, you
kind
can
of
split
slowly.
a championship?
Back then they did.
That's weird.
Yeah, because they were national championship, national champions with Michigan.
That just sounds
I
wrong.
don't think they didn't go head to head that year though, right?
I don't think so. But so they
Yeah.
were like and that was
Yeah.
with,
Played their separate bowl games. It's different now, but
Yep.
they wouldn't have had that. So what do you think? So Andrew, I know Andrew well enough to know we're both Chiefs fans, and we had several years, let's be honest, of pain. What do you think? What do you think resides within the male psyche that makes us endure all of that pain when our teams just suck?
I don't know. I should ask my father-in-law that because he's a Vikings fan.
Oh,
but
yeah. That's
I don't
another
know.
one.
It's just I don't know. I think we're just weird men, and we just love sports. It's like back in the gladiator days. Like people just love to watch people in the arenas and go at
crap
it
out
and
each other.
like knock each other's heads off in a sense. So
Yeah.
I think it's like you're invested so much that you just like it's got to pay off at some point, right? Like look at Cubs fans; they spend like 70 years with nothing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's maybe like playing blackjack. If you lose a hand, you just double down and you just keep
Hey.
on hoping and praying.
Double of nothing is nothing, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you think, hey, if I buy some more apparel, then somehow they're going to get a signal that we like you, and so they're going to play harder for us.
I guess the NFL, every year, the draft, you're going to draft that guy. And I remember back when we had Alex Smith.
Yes.
We I was like, I texted a buddy. They moved up and got him home. They said, "Well, geez, I guess we're just betting the farm on this guy, huh?"
Yeah.
Well, hey, now I'm glad we did.
Yeah.
But looking back, I was like, oh, here we go.
We had a lot of really rough years as Chiefs fans. We did. I know everybody hates us now, but
Yeah.
that's how I was with Patriots. When the Patriots won a bunch, I hated them because I thought they were cheating all the time. And of course, when you got a great quarterback like Tom Brady, I'll give Belichick a little bit of credit, but I think at the end of the day, Tom Brady was the real reason why they did so well.
Was there a sports moment that kind of just is like a core memory for you during like, your developmental years?
Olympics, anything?
I remember we were Horner Orthodontics U10, and we played. I don't remember. We played all over, but I played like U10, U12, 13, all the way up to like U18 is kind of how they have it. And we were the U10 like state champs for soccer, Horner Orthodontics. And I don't know why. I still think it's funny. People think it was weird, but we used to chant like "Buns of Steel." Like that was our chant. I don't know where it came from.
How's it go?
It was like we were like "Buns of Steel," like, and we chanted like 10 times. And people were like, because all the parents of other teams would be like, "Who are like? What are they doing?" And maybe I don't know. Maybe it affected them, but we were like the U10 champs. So like that was like a young success. So I think it was one of those things that like propelled me to like keep going. I was like, well, I was a state champ when I was like 10, so I thought it was cool. And
I had Buns of Steel.
I had Buns of Steel. I still have tons of trophies at my mom's house. She's like, come get them. I'm like, I can't get rid of those, right?
And then they cut a workout tape, and they're living off of the residuals ever since.
I think it was back then. Didn't they had a workout? It was back,
Yeah. Probably with Suzanne Summers, God rest her soul.
So that's the title for this episode now.
Yeah, Buns of Steel.
Still.
We'll get a picture of Andrew going, or this, or slapping his butt or something. So Horner Orthodontics, that's Kevin Horner.
Yep.
Now it's Horner Barrow Orthodontics with his daughter Carrie.
Yep.
We did some work with those folks. Super nice folks. Mm-hmm. That's really cool.
I think one of his boys was on the team, and so that's why he had sponsored. So
that's pretty cool. The one thing I remember about him, this is like a really weird one. Apparently, Dr. Horner was on a beach, and they had like a staff retreat or something like that, and he yelled "shark," and I think they got the police involved because you're not supposed to do that, and he didn't know that. It sounds like something I would do.
yeah, it's weird to think about it. So like when I was 10, he sponsored us as a soccer team, and then fast forward into my teen years, I was fortunate enough to have braces, and
Went there.
went to Horner Orthodontics and
That's
fixed my
awesome.
teeth.
Just like McDonald's hamburgers. Do.
I'm loving it.
Also sponsored today's show, apparently. So as you got into your teen years now and like kind of high school, college, what were some mentors or teachers or folks that were really important to you?
It's like something that sticks in my eye. So I was like, we were involved in the church, and one of the youth directors was this old guy. He was old military guy, which maybe that's something. I mean, my grandpa's in the military, this guy was in the military, so I kind of looked up to him. We had like lost our pastor.
Yeah.
And it's like one of those moments that people do like off the cuff that kind of sticks out. You'll never. And he shook my hand. He's like, "Young man, you're gonna make it someday, or you're gonna make a big difference." And I was like, like, and he shakes your hand as you're walking. Like, who is this old guy?
Yeah.
But that and then just some of the
Did
other.
you tell him you had Buns of Steel?
I don't think I did.
Old man Foster doesn't deserve
Maybe
that.
he wanted them.
Yeah, I think I was more confused because I was like, who is? I mean, I'd met him I had never personally met him, but obviously he'd become our pastor for the last couple weeks or months.
Yeah.
But then he just off the cuff shakes my hand. I'm walking into church someday. I'm like, that guy doesn't. I don't even think he knows my name.
Yeah.
Why would he say that to me? But it's the little things that I try to do that now with my mentee that I mentor. I'm like, try to like maybe say something to instill in him that'll carry on for, I don't know, it's probably been 30 some years.
Yeah.
Ever since that guy said that to me. So it's always like, all right, like, am I going to something, I don't know.
Do you have anybody like that, Vince? Somebody said something to you and you're like, oh man, I'll never forget that.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Go to bed.
I mean, I think a lot of it. So I always say I'm Italian by baptism because I have godparents who are like my grandparents. My godfather's 81, and when I was like 8 or 9, I remember he sat me down and told me that I will be treated differently my entire life because of how I look or what I do, whatever it is. But he told me this instance, there will come a time where you will have an advantage because of that, and to never feel bad about taking advantage of that advantage because you will have lived most of your life having that advantage be considered a disadvantage.
So many advantages there.
I know I use the word advantage so many times. I'm sorry. Start a counter.
Very profound.
Very profound. So, what's the last time you took advantage of that advantage?
I feel like, let's see, I got a scholarship one year for just literally writing why, I was a student of Asian descent from South Dakota, and they gave me $1,500, which I spent not wisely, but that's a story for another time.
I did that. They only gave me $1,200. I got gypped out.
Inflation.
Yeah, I guess so. So that's this past. He was the pastor then.
Yeah, Pastor Roy.
Pastor Roy.
Yeah.
And so did that have an impact on you getting into the service?
I think it's kind of always something I've thought about. He has kind of had an interesting story about me. He became a Christian like in World War II.
Yeah.
He said he's in like his early 20s, and then I said, "Oh wow," because he's like, then I became a pastor, and so he was very blunt,
Yeah.
which I thought was interesting because he was an older gentleman at that time, and so. He would say like he'd say, "Hey, good morning, church," and they'd be like, and he'd be like, "I said good morning. Are you awake?" And so it's like, oh, like people don't do that,
Stand to attention.
Yeah, but I think him, and then obviously my grandfather was a big one. He served 30 years in the Nebraska Guard,
Okay.
so I've always someone I've looked up to and thought, "How that'd be kind of cool to follow in Grandpa's footsteps." So
Yeah. So was he in like World War II, or did he serve in any wars?
my grandpa didn't know he was in the Army Guard.
Okay.
He was a recruiter for. I probably get it wrong, but I want to say I think my dad said like 20 some years or a really long time, and so
Yeah.
he was fortunate enough to stay back. But yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
It's really cool.
So how old were you when you? I almost said when you got drafted. That's not the right way to put it. Yeah. When you joined up.
So I did the American dream of everyone goes to college because that's just what you do.
Yep.
So I graduated from Sioux Falls Christian and went to USF, and I didn't know why I was at USF. People were like, "What are you going to study?" And I was like, "I don't even know why I'm here because I just did what everyone
He was
else
trying
did."
to get by the
He
school
was-
day.
Yeah, I
He
was
still
trying to-
sleeping.
I was trying to-
where am I?
I was trying to stay awake. Yeah. And so then I went and worked, and I was like, yeah, I need to do something. So I had someone who I know that was in the Guard, previously retired, and was like, you ever thought about the Guard? I was like, yeah, I actually almost joined active duty. I don't even think my wife knows this story, but I was going to join active duty way previous before that. And I was dating a girl at the time, and so I went to the recruiter, went to MEPS, and talked to him and did all this stuff. And I told the girl that I was dating at the time, I was like, hey, I went to talk to the Air Force recruiter. She was like, you're not the military type. It just crushed me. I was like, what?
Whoa.
That was when I was 18. And then moved forward, 2 years, and I was 20 when I joined. Turned 21 at tech school. So I had my 21st at a military tech school. So I always joke with people, my 21st, I got out of our class at midnight and we ran to the bar, and I had, 2 beers and a shot, and happy 21st because then the bar closed. So
He made it just in time. I bet she just didn't want you to go. You're not worth it. You got to stay here with me.
Well, at least he took that as motivation and did it. I mean,
Yeah,
I was 25 and I was at the Marine office thinking, what am I doing with my life? and then I went and told the girl I was dating at the time. She's like, same thing. She's like, you're not cut out for that. I couldn't see you doing that. And I was like, you know what? I was back and
You're
forth, back and forth.
We'll be right back. So, what were some things that you expected when you were in the Army?
the Air Guard here in Sioux
Guard.
Falls. Yep.
What were some things that you expected that maybe myths exposed? You're like, that doesn't happen like that.
I guess I thought when you got like in the the military's looked at as everything is like perfect. We're the greatest of the greatest, which we're the greatest in the world. Most powerful, I would say, as of now. Hopefully it stays that way. But
Yeah.
it's like I thought, you'd go in and everyone would, cross their T's and dot their I's, and there was all respect and no one got in trouble. Well, that's the total opposite. I realized that, some of the people that were there, I mean, my first tech school, I went to became a firefighter, and there was 3 Marines in my class, and 2 of them, one said, well, I'm from New York and I kind of had to join. It was either, I said, what do you mean you had? Well, I could either go away for a little while, or they said I could serve. So I was like, okay. So you were going to go into prison or whatever for a while because of something you've done. And the other guy was like, oh yeah, he was nothing but a troublemaker. And one of them did not make it through the school because he just was like that. And but it's that was one thing I think that really opened my eyes. I thought, oh, the military would be perfect. Everything would, everyone would be super respectful. And no, we have our problems just as people in the corporate world do, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
what was one of the bigger lessons that you learned from being in that time?
I would say one of the lessons I still take with me is this is from one of my first sergeants, which now I am a first sergeant, so I try to more tactfully pass it on. But one of my first sergeants pretty much said to me, he said, "No one cares about you, and you need to take care of yourself." And sometimes it's the unpopular truth of we're just kind of a number.
Yeah.
And so, or he, and the other way he said it is, if you don't get the answer you want, continue to go up the chain, which can get you in a lot of trouble. But if you don't find the answer that you want, or someone's not helping you get to where you want, you got to take care of it yourself, because people aren't going to hold your hand and help you through it, which is the truth. And the military shifted even more to that now, of putting more on the members to take care of themselves. Not babysit them. I mean, we're having 18, 19, 20-year-old kids joining, and, well, you're an adult. You need to act like an adult, which now it's even more trying times with the things that are going on in the world.
Yeah.
So knowing your streak of causing a little bit of trouble and breaking things,
Sleeping.
and just
up.
falling asleep wherever and whenever. So what kind of trouble did you get to when you first joined up?
I think
There's a theme here.
Yeah, there's got to be.
it was hard for me to get, I wasn't much of a morning person.
Are you now?
I think I am, yeah. Like now, well, I think more now since I've been married now. But it's more of like when my alarm goes off now, I'm like, I'm up, go, it's time to go for the day. Basic training it's not that easy. I mean, you're tired, and that's the hardest thing, is if you can get over the tiredness and them yelling at you, which, I mean, they get in your face and you yell. And if you don't take it personal, it's actually not that hard. I mean, for some people it is, because us, the Midwest, Midwest nice, but we also are a little more thicker skin. I notice people from the coast, those are the ones that got more trouble during basic training, because I don't know, it just was a current theme. But I think that was the hardest thing. It's like waking up, and so, but now now I'm kind of old, and so waking up, and it's still a theme for some of our young airmen. It's like, hey, you need to be here at this time, and you slept in, and what were you doing? I was playing video games, or whatever they were doing.
Yeah.
But I think that was the hardest thing of, getting up early and because, I don't know, you don't know, no one wants to go to bed super early, but now I do, because
Yeah, get up early.
I'm tired.
Oh, isn't that crazy? We all go through that trend where we become morning people at some point.
Yeah. Most of my life.
Okay, you've always been a morning person. Thank you.
So what were some of the habits that you acquired during your time in the service that you continue to do? I mean, obviously you have a tight, what's the appropriate term? High and tight?
High and tight, yeah. That's one thing that drives me nuts, is I literally, my wife, it drives her crazy. Like I'm on like 2.5 to 3 weeks. I got to get my hair cut.
Wow.
It's like, oh, it's kind of getting long. They're like, it's not long. I was like, it's driving me nuts. It's touching my ears, which is out of regs for the military.
Yeah.
So, and that's bothering me. So like for sure, like short hair, almost shaving almost every day. Like I think I might have a little bit of stubble, because I want to shave every single day, but shaving, and I think went through basic training, we didn't really shave a lot, but they made us shave every day.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to throw the shaving cream on. It's just too much work. So I just and I still to this day take a razor, one of those like vibrating ones, because it feels better on your skin, and hot water, and I just shave. Like no shaving cream.
Wow.
I just
Saves
hot
money.
water. Yeah,
So
hot water and go.
You wouldn't go back to the classic bowl cut that you had?
Oh, okay. Oh, that was a bad time in my life. Bad time.
You wrote about it.
So we have this questionnaire that we give everybody on here just to try to tease out a couple of answers. So yeah, you mentioned the bowl cut.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
I think that was in, wasn't it? Like mid
Well, what is a bowl cut? I gotta be
90s.
honest. I thought it was a typo, like a bowl cut.
It was like right above the ears, but it was like, and it went like, it was like a line around your head. If you took a bowl and you shove it on your head and you cut your hair, like that's what it looked like. But it was like, you'd part it in the middle, and it was like long.
Do you have any
Okay,
pictures of
okay.
yourself?
No, and my wife might, or somebody
Yeah,
hopefully.
because we'll take those. and
Hopefully
put 'em on.
doesn't. Hopefully
Yeah.
doesn't have
Because
it.
in your words, you said sweet bowl cut. So
Yes.
I thought you were very proud of it.
Back then it was sweet, and it was so your hair was longer, so you'd part it, and it would come down to maybe when it grew, it was like to the top of your ears, and then it was like shaved underneath, and then it was like you even get fancy where it would over and you'd shave it underneath. So like if you put it up, kind of like a ponytail area.
Yeah.
Fancy
So
bowl cut.
my aunt did
fancy.
hair, and she was like, "We should braid it and put beads." And I was like, "Oh, sure." So for one of my soccer tournaments, I had that, and people were like, "Oh, I like your hair," and I was like, kind of like the Lexi Lawless, kind of like dreads, back in the day, Kobe Jones, Lexi Lawless, those Americans. But yeah, no,
Heroes.
not going back to that.
So you served in Iraq, and I remember you had mentioned in there about when you first got to the country in the C-130. Mm-hmm. And was that a fearful experience?
It's weird because I don't think I was ever like afraid. It was more of like the way I still look at it today is like it's almost like a surreal feeling. We did what they call a beautiful combat landing, which turn.
You say beautiful combat?
Yeah, it was beautiful.
All right.
Beautiful to keep us safe.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Like
for
that sweet
I think,
bowl cut.
Yeah. And I think the pilots, I think it's fun for them because normally you don't fly a cargo plane like that, so they think it's fun. So you can you turn and you drop and you turn and you drop, and then I was like, geez, like where are we? Like because you can't see out, you don't know how high off the ground you are, you don't know, and all of a sudden it's like oh geez, well we landed, and as soon as we land, you hear "Mrrr," and I'm like, what in the world? So I look back, and the back of the C-130 is literally just opening up. And I look out there and I'm like, huh, it's a desert. Like, it's almost like you'd see on TV. And I was like, wow, like I just landed in Iraq. Like, and it's still to this day, it's like, huh, like it's a surreal feeling that here I am in Baghdad and here we go. Strap on your boots.
So what year was that?
That was in 2008.
2008. Okay. And there was conflict going on then?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We were still, I don't know if it was daily, but we were still getting mortar attacked a lot. We had the Sea Rams, which help protect from that, like what they have on the aircraft carriers and whatnot. But yeah, we had those, and so that's something that has forever and will forever change my life. I still I love the 4th of July because our freedoms, but I don't care for the booms and easily being startled still, unfortunately. So
yeah, I bet. So how long were you over there?
we were there for 4.5 months.
Okay.
So it's one of those things you never forget. We flew out September 11, 2008.
Yeah.
We flew out of country. So it's like that's forever ingrained in my mind of and it was kind of eerie because we were like, 7th anniversary of September 11th, and I'm getting on another C-130 to fly out of Baghdad, Iraq, to a few other places in Iraq before we got to our stop. But yeah.
Did you mingle a lot with the Iraqis?
We actually more than I shouldn't say more than normal, but for what we did, we had 3 fire stations on Camp Victory, and so 2 of them were on the American side per se, and then we had one that was on Iraqi soil, and that's the one I spent most of the time at.
Yeah.
And so we actually did some training with the local Iraqi firefighters.
Okay.
And it was interesting because I came home with a totally different sense, totally different feeling towards them than I did going there. Some of them were like the nicest people I've ever met in my entire life, still to this day. I mean, we sat down and we had tea. That's their culture. We'd sit down and, all right, let's do some training. Hey, sit down. Here, can we serve you some tea?
Yeah.
Which, a little cup of tea, that's all you needed. And I don't know how much caffeine was in there, but it was a lot.
Yeah.
But there are also some that would sit back and not want to shake your hands and kind of watch you from a ways.
Sure.
But, just like we do.
I guess I never thought about firefighting in the desert. Like, how wild is
point.
that?
Good point.
Like, where's the water?
Yeah, we had some big water tanks. We did aircraft rescue firefighting, so like any of if that would happen, we would be called. So like for buildings or medical emergencies, or thank God no big aircraft got shot down or came down or anything. But
So were there any challenges, any close calls while you were there?
we had a few mortars that hit the ramp, which we lived in Tent City, which was cool. Well, not really cool, but that's where we lived. We lived in tents, and we used porta potties a lot of times. So 120 degrees, and if you had to use the porta potty, that'll forever change you into being a man. Or
Wow.
Do you still have your sense of smell?
I do, yeah. It was.
I don't think anything smells when it's that hot. It just burns
nasty.
up.
It was nasty.
Oh man.
That's why I asked.
Wow. Nice question, Vince.
So, how was the transition back into civilian life?
Honestly, it was tough for me when I first got back. Excuse me. I came back and I had a lot of anger issues that I never really realized I had. And it was more of just because we as Americans are so spoiled.
Yeah.
And so stubborn, and I was grateful to go anywhere. So I'd go to a restaurant here in town and I'd be like, hey, I'll take a cheeseburger and fries. And they'd be like, hey, it'll be a couple minutes. I'm like, I don't care. And the guy next to me said he ordered a bacon cheeseburger and he didn't get bacon. And so he'd throw a fit. And I'm like, you're the most like stuck up, like spoiled rot. Like, and it would piss me off. Cause I'm like, listen, like we have it we live in the greatest country. We have it so good. But we take it, so many people take it for granted. People have no idea. And I'm like, listen, I'm not getting mortar attacked. I'm not living in a tent. I'm not using a porta potty to go to the bathroom. Like, I just want a warm shower and a nice meal. And I really changed my perspective on God, today well, today doesn't suck. I'm not living in a desert, going through, and so it's made me a lot more grateful for what I do have. And that was one thing. I mean, Americans I love America, I love my country, but that was one thing I struggled with a lot was I was like, you're so arrogant. Like, seriously, you have no idea what it's like outside of South Dakota, probably.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, Vince and I've talked about this, just thanking people, it's kind of cliche-ish in a way, like, thank you for your service. And you feel like when you say that, are you really mindful? I mean, I think it shows respect, but I would agree, some people they may never really appreciate the challenges that, going over there for 4.5 months or even 2 weeks. I mean, go camping with your family for 2 weeks and there's no showers and the toilet's 120 degrees. You'd be sweating and really thankful to get back home. But when you hear military folk come back, they deserve all the respect in the world for what they've been through. I mean, we were at a wedding. Do you remember this? I think you're with me. We were at a wedding, and there was a guy, and he had this beautiful tattoo on his arm, and I'm like, ooh, I love to lean into those stories. And he had come back from Afghanistan. I forget how long ago it was, and I love to, let's hear some stories. Tell me some stories. Well, his was really bad. He's like, well, yeah, this is this brother that died, and this is this brother that died, and I'm like, who's that? And he's like, well, that was my best friend. And I'm like, he didn't make it. And he's like, no. And I'm like, almost close to tears already. And I'm like, do you mind telling me what happened? He's like, yeah, we were coming back, and everybody was getting into the backs of trucks. And he said there was a 10-year-old boy, and we saw him running towards the truck, and we thought he was just going to say goodbye. He had a hand grenade or an incendiary, and he threw it in the truck and ran away. And everybody died in that truck. And it's so horrible that a country would utilize their kids as weapons like that. That's a tragedy. But then just that poor guy lost his friends because they didn't think like that. We don't think like that to put our kids and our families in harm's way like that. And it's kind of what we're seeing in Israel as well.
Yeah.
Without getting too political like that. It's just a bad deal when things happen the way they do and we're utilizing our kids and weaponizing them against bad deal.
Yeah, definitely count our blessings.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Hate to go down that dark path there, but I anyway, all of that said, all respect for the military folk, for sure.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it's been I'm almost at 20 years. A couple more months and I'll be at the big 2-0.
Nice.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
Big party coming up?
Well, it depends who you ask. I mean, big
Between
party
us.
for me. My wife thinks I got 10 years left in me. So I said, let's just get to the 20 and we'll see what happens after. Like, let's just get there first.
So came back from the military, and then had you met Maggie before that or after?
That was after. So
Okay.
I joined in 04. I went to Iraq in 08, and that was in Kuwait in 2010.
Okay.
For same thing, about 4.5 months. And then I met Maggie a few years after that. So, and then 18, I actually, with being married, that was my first time deployed, which that changed me
Yeah.
as well. Cause I was, before I was, I'm single, who cares? Like,
Right.
but now you have a wife, and I had, our son at the time was about 18 months old. So I was like, yeah, this whole military being deployed in a combat zone, it's not real cool when you have kids, which puts like, as you said, it puts a whole nother meaning,
Yeah.
whole nother layer of maybe stress, maybe, anxiety on top of,
yeah,
being
totally.
halfway across the world. So
Totally. So then, at what point then did the real estate world enter your?
So it was actually right after that. It was right after 2018. I was in Afghanistan, the beautiful country of Afghanistan, actually. Like,
Yeah.
and I don't say it jokingly. Like, we were in. I mean, they have mountains. We're in a mountainous area in northern Afghanistan, and it's actually gorgeous. We're there in the fall, and so we'd wake up and there'd be like snow on top of the mountains. Like, it was almost like being like in Colorado.
Yeah.
With the weather was kind of different, but it was weird because it was desert with like mountains. So
Yeah.
it was kind of cool. Maybe Arizona areas.
No ski resorts in Afghanistan, though. I bet.
But some of the pilots came back and they were like, "Oh man, this is like the most beautiful country. Like, some of the mountain ranges and this." And I was like, "Wow, interesting." But unrest of politicalness, which we won't go down there. But
Yeah.
no, it was actually right after that. So I came home, and I kind of needed to change. I thought, my son's young, and I don't know if I can do the job I was in at the time. And it would have been like another 15 more years and it had been, because I was working full time for the military at the time, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this for another 15 years, and I want to spend time with my wife and my little kid, and I was just gone, and I just needed a change. And so Maggie and I were kind of talked, and I think we were at Craven, and she was like, "So you really want to do this?" And I was like, "Yeah." Because she was needing help because her business was growing at the time.
Yeah.
And I said, let's do it. Because previously I'd been a home inspector in my previous life for a couple years back when I was in the firefighting realm of and so like I kind of had an idea of the real estate world and how
Yeah.
it worked being a home inspector. And I was like, I think I would enjoy being an agent. I mean, I thought, God, this, going to coffee and lunches, and God, it sounds like a pretty, from
pretty cush.
from the outside looking in, that's what all these new agents think. Wow, look, you get to go to coffee and lunches, and this looks easy and fun.
Until they realize they got to pay for that coffee. Like, what?
You quickly learn.
Yeah, like I mean, I thought that was super cool, knowing that you're in real estate, but then also having that home inspection side of things. So that gives you a whole new level of whether or not somebody should buy something. In a way, I almost feel like most realtors should probably have that experience because it does give you a leg
edge.
up and make
Yeah.
sure that you're going to the right place.
I definitely look at houses different. And I think that's something we pride ourselves on at the Miller team. It's like, oh, hey, we're going to walk into this house, and I go, there's a nice, sheetrock crack. It's probably cosmetic. I don't know, because I'm not a home inspector. I'm not an engineer, but we see a lot of that, and I think that's something that people have said, oh, I really like that you point everything out. And I said, if I see it, I'm going to say it, because I'd rather show you something now as we're walking through the house and you go, oh, I don't think I can live with that. I was showing a house to some clients a few weeks back, and I said, God, look, there's that nice little like ripple in the floor. Well, that's weird. So I got down on my hands and knees and looked, and I was like, well, it doesn't seem to be the floor shifting. Maybe it's just a cosmetic, maybe it's just a bad floor job, and they ended up going, that kind of made me nervous. So I'd rather now than you buy the house and 6 months later, you're like, hey, how come you never showed me this? Or,
Right.
So we like to be upfront and honest. And if we see something, we say something, kind of like they say with everything in life. But if we see something that's going on at the house, hey, I'm going to point it out to you now so you can make an educated decision on, do I move forward with this big purchase, or do I next?
Yeah. So then you morphed a little bit more then in the real estate space, because now you're also helping veterans purchase their homes too, correct?
Yeah,
Yep.
you're a big advocate there. Aren't
Yeah. And that's one thing. Like, I mean, right now we have the Veterans Community Project, which is a huge thing that I love to promote. I'm not really involved with it, but I love to promote it and help to volunteer a couple times. And same thing like homelessness. And so like a lot of veterans that go through a lot of this kind of stuff have PTSD, alcohol problems, which turn into, when they get out of the military, drug problems and homelessness and not really well financial stability and whatnot. And so like I just want to help them. So like obviously getting into a house is huge. You know, it's like a homeowner's dream. You know, it's everyone's dream, I would say, or most people's dream to be a homeowner. And so helping a veteran through that's like, I mean, that's probably one of my favorite things about real estate is helping another veteran find a house. And it's fun because, you know, I don't know, we're veterans. We like speak the same language, speak the same lingo. Usually we know someone else who's also serving, or know someone who's in your unit or that unit, or you're in my unit, or you've been somewhere. Oh yeah, you know, when you were there, did you go to this place to eat, or did you experience this or experience that? So it's kind of like almost like a close knit family kind of in a way. So it's
That's really cool.
So Mr. Miller, quite the complex person. He plays soccer. He wrecks bikes.
He also sings, which he didn't.
That's right.
You're an all-state choir, but you didn't demonstrate anything for our viewers.
We need a demo tape.
You put it on there, sir.
Yeah, you put it out there.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I went to Sioux Falls Christian. It was kind of small, so I think I was, one of four of us, and we went to, I think it was Aberdeen for all-state chorus. That was crazy.
What part did you sing?
Well, I was a bass.
Bass, of course.
I mean,
that's why you have to add extra bass to that too, to emphasize that I'm a bass.
yeah, yeah,
Just to be clear here.
yeah. I've always liked singing. I mean, I might have done a few karaoke stints in my past,
Might have.
You can always
future
bring it back to the
past.
present.
Yeah.
Well, for when he leaves the military, he'll be able to do some karaoke, I'm sure.
Yeah, maybe I'll do a little Johnny Cash impersonation when I retire. Grow the hair out. And
Well, I remember having to like review choral groups or music concerts in school, and I went to like an armed forces like chorale, and that was like I'm really impressed. Like the fact that these folk have this music ability, but they also have to perform the regular job, which is military, the full time as well, and practice.
yeah, they have a Air Force, or they have military band. So like some people in the military, like they play in the Air Force band, or they sing in the Air Force choir, or there's actually a show choir, and they do crazy shows.
See, maybe I would have actually joined up if I knew that was a thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that people
Show
don't.
choir.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people think that people don't know about the military. When we were in Kuwait, they came and like did like some big long performance for us, and you're like, you're in the military. Yeah, this is my job. I was like,
I get shot at, but you do that.
news to me.
Jeez. Well, our time, I was looking over here like, whoa, we're already at our time. Is there anything we didn't get to talk about that's just super nostalgic from your childhood or growing up that we haven't mentioned yet?
I don't know if there's anything real crazy. I mean, I've lived in Sioux Falls, born in Nebraska, so I always have to throw that out there. David City, small little town, but I've lived in this town like all my life, and it's crazy to see how much this city has grown.
Yeah.
Especially, we're downtown right now, and how downtown is shifting. And I remember one of my deployments, I came back in 57th. That's when they redid where the railroad tracks, and you'd fly over the railroad tracks, and they redid that like overpass. And it's just crazy to see how much this town continues to grow.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know. I love the city. I don't know if I'll ever move. I mentioned it to Maggie. I'm like, maybe south where it's warmer, because I'm getting older and I don't like the cold as much.
Yeah, for sure.
So, the theme of our show is the stories that shape us. So is there, on a land note here, is there some sort of quote or lesson or story from, your past that you still carry with you today in what you do?
I would say I did a little bit with the Quick Start Amway stuff back in college, and I listened to a lot of really good speakers that like still I think I listen. I don't still listen to them, and I still remember some of the stuff they said, and I think it's kind of how it's shaped how I treat people in the real estate world. And one of the quotes I was like, oh man, that really stick with me. It's like what the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. And so it's like whatever you think can happen, now like David Goggins, I read some of his books, and the guy's a freak, but he was like, your mind can do 120 times more. Like your mind stops at like 60%. Like that's half of what you can really do. And so even like in the real real estate world, or I mean, to think back, it's been almost 20 years in the military. Like whatever you believe in your mind, like your mind is a powerful, powerful tool, more than we realize and more than we actually use. So it's like, man, like whatever I can believe in my mind and my heart, and like I can process it, write it down, and put 5-year, 10-year plan. Like I can achieve that stuff, because the only thing I think that stops us more than anything in the world is ourselves.
Right.
So
yeah, I agree. I think, I know that quote, and even Bruce Lee said that too, like never have negative self-talk, because you will believe what you tell yourself. And so if you pump yourself up with anything other than country music, anything's possible.
Gotta bring that back.
Well, thanks for being a guest today. It's been fun to get to know you on this level, and allow us to interrogate you. It's been a lot of fun.
A friend of the studio and supporter like always. So thanks again for another episode of Nostalgia Street. Make sure you follow Andrew. You'll find his information on our show notes. And if you haven't heard already, our show is also available on YouTube, where you can see all the visuals of all the peoples and things that we talk about that you may not know that I don't know. Aside from that, always stay curious and stay engaged, and we'll see you back on Nostalgia Street. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast platform. If you're on iTunes, please take a moment and leave us a rating and review.
Head on over to our YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button. You'll get access to engaging visuals that complement our podcast content.
Thanks again for tuning in, and we look forward to having you with us on our next episode. So until next time, listeners, stay curious, stay engaged,
And never stop walking down Nostalgia Street.